What's going on, DFS Army? Craig Bennett, aka Cash Cake here. I'm gonna jump on and do an NFL video this morning. Talk about Saturday's divisional playoff games. We got some good ones. Starts at 4:35 Eastern Standard Time, and I'll just go over some lineup construction thoughts on both DraftKings and FanDuel. I'll start on DraftKings, just kind of walk through my thoughts at each position and maybe some plays I think could be low owned that could go off. But yeah, it's, like I said, we got NBA today, NFL, MMA, everything over at DFS Army. Head on over there, use DFS Army promo code CashCake, save yourself 10%. We got cheat sheets up, all kinds of great tools over there to help you make your decisions. But thought I'd do a quick video on NFL. Haven't done one in a while. Really like these games. Again, we only got 2 today. I know DraftKings is offering, the big 4-game slate as well, but I do like these 2-game slates. You can get kind of crazy on them and get overweight on the field, even though some of these guys are going to be chalk. I think there's some ways you can go to get different, and that's a way to kind of look at things. So let's just dive in here to DraftKings a little bit. Again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video and you want me to keep doing these. Trying to branch out and do a little bit of everything that you guys like. I'm going to do an NBA 2-gamer as well. But for NFL, let's start the quarterback position for DraftKings. Again, we got Lamar Jackson, 7,600, Josh Allen, 7,400, Aaron Rodgers, 6,900, and Goff, 5,200. The implied team totals are about even for Green Bay at 26 and Buffalo at 26. I don't want a whole lot to do with the Rams. I think they're going to struggle to keep up with Green Bay here. My issue with Aaron Rodgers is he just doesn't run. So, he could pass for 4 touchdowns, sure. But when we have, for 500 and 700 more, we got quarterbacks are basically running backs, especially Lamar Jackson that can put up a 100-yard bonus, 100 yards. Against Buffalo. It's really hard for me to go to Aaron Rodgers here, even though with that implied team total. I'd rather just take some of his weapons. So for me, it's either Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. I kind of like Josh Allen in this matchup. It's a guy that I'm going to be heavier on. I think, you're fine going up to Jackson, but Allen can run, but he also is he's such an accurate passer this year. It's crazy the bump that he's got. So if I'm starting most of my lineups, I'm probably starting with Allen. At the running back position, Baltimore's a little tricky. As you've seen, throughout the whole year, yeah, they run a ton, but they split the carry so much. Jackson runs a ton, Dobbins runs a ton. Gus the Bus comes in and runs. So at 6K, I think you can play him, but he wouldn't be like a initial guy I would just shove in my lineup. It's like maybe cash games, but in tournaments, I think I would just go down to Gus Edwards at 4,200. If he gets in the box at 4,200 and Dobbins doesn't, they split a lot of the workload. And even though Dobbins is more the talented running back and he's the future of that team, I don't mind Gus Edwards at 4,200. But I think the first guy you're going to throw in here is Cam Akers against that Green Bay rush defense. We know it's been bad all year. 5,700. It's hard not to like him. He's shown it towards the back end of this season how good he's been. So I don't mind throwing him in there. Singletary's interesting at 4,500 with no Zach Moss as well. I don't mind if you want to look at him. On these 2-game slates, you got to get a little different to win them. So sure, you can play 3 running backs, but you can also play tight ends. I think there's a few tight ends you could play in the flex. I think there's a few wide receivers you can play in the flex. But, like Cam Akers is the first guy that I'm throwing in there. Even though they should be playing from behind, I still think that's the guy that I want to look at. Again, Singletary, I don't mind him. I don't mind Gus and Dobbins. Those are the guys I'm probably going to be focusing on. Again, Aaron Jones, I think is going to carry a lot of ownership as well. Probably be Akers will be number 1, then probably Jones. So, if you want to play one of these guys, I kind of want to play some of these more expensive wide receivers. So I'm going to move over to this just to start my lineup. I don't know exactly what secondary running back I'll go with. But here's the big decision I think you got to make when it comes to tournaments and cash games. We're going to get a lot of ownership on Devante Adams. He is a beast. We all know this. The numbers he's put up with Rodgers all year has been crazy. My big issue is just, is he going to ride the struggle bus against Ramsey? They're going to get Adams the ball. Don't get me wrong. He's going to get his catches. He's going to get his, he'll probably get in the box. They will scheme ways to get him the ball. But if I could save $1,300 and go Diggs, that's probably the route I'm going, to save a little bit of salary and how well he's been playing. I'd just rather stack up this Buffalo team, and not saying don't play. I want some of this Green Bay. They got 26 implied team total, but maybe I want to go towards a Valdez-Scantling here, or maybe I want to go down to tight end and play me a Tanyan, and maybe they're the ones that get a majority of the work. Like I said, Adams ain't going to be skunked, but it's not the best matchup for him, and I would rather look at some of these guys that we've seen Valdez-Scantling take the top off. That guy's so frustrating because he's dropped so many balls from Rodgers. If we want to look at Lazard, no one's going to play him. He's a guy you could look at. But Valdez-Scantling, one deep ball, and he's going to be in the nut lineup. So I like him. Diggs is probably my favorite wide receiver, though, on DraftKings at that price, even over Adams. And he's gonna be super popular. It's going to be Adams and Diggs are going to be some of the two most popular guys. One thing we got to wait on is Cooper Kupp. He's $5,300 on DraftKings. The issue with him is he's a true game time decision. So if he is out, man, Woods is going to see a ton of balls. We should see more looks for Reynolds here as well. Again, that brings Jefferson into play. Over on the tight ends, it brings those guys Higbee and Everett into play more. Like I said, and that's why I think you can maybe look at a tight end. We'll have Mark Andrews as the number one owned tight end here, and I love Mark Andrews against Buffalo. But that doesn't mean I can't run two tight end set with Tanyan. Like if they try to shut down Adams, maybe Tanyan has a 2 touchdown game because Green Bay is going to put up points. It's just who are they going to? Because they can, Rodgers is smart. He's going to get the ball around to where it needs to be. And if Ramsey's going to completely try to take out Adams, then you got to look at some of these secondary guys. So, if we do, let's just throw in Tanyan here at the flex, and it leaves us with some salary just to make it a little interesting. Go back to this wide receiver pool, and maybe when we want to look at a Beasley, like I don't mind double stacking Buffalo with Diggs and Beasley. We know the Sheriff's back in John Brown, but he's been out for so long that Josh Allen might be just say, hey, I'm really more comfortable with Beasley and Diggs, so I like them as well. So I think there's ways you can go. So if you throw Beasley in here and just double stack this, it leaves you a ton of cash. So if you're looking at defense, this is another thing in the 2-game slates, preach all the time, don't be afraid to play your defense against your players in a 2-game slate. Make sure if you're using any kind of, the domination station optimizer that you make the settings to push at least 2 to 3 players, max against your defense. Now, and if you saw even on last week, with that massive game that Pittsburgh and Cleveland went off, I think there was 4 players against the Browns defense, and they were in that lineup. So a lot of things can happen. You get a defensive touchdown, but then they put up a bunch of points on you. It can happen. So don't be afraid to do it. So if you want to punt any of these defenses down here, Green Bay, the Bills, maybe the thing I don't mind about, playing the Bills is, Lamar Jackson's been so inaccurate, and he can throw a couple picks really easily here if he tries to press the ball. So I don't mind playing the Bills at all. So just throw him here, you get 8,800. And so don't be afraid to leave salary on the table too. If you like this lineup and you think these guys can go off, because that's going to win these 2-game slates is not worrying about salary. They've priced everyone down enough that I think that's why everyone's going to be like, okay, well, let me come in here and plug in Diggs, throw in Adams, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm sitting at, still a Tanyan here, and I got 4K. Well, what can I work with? Well, I don't want any of these guys, but Gus the Bus is 4,200, so maybe I want to throw Edwards in here. I got, the 2 stud wide receivers in this group. Edwards, if he finds the end zone twice, and I still got a defense that I can throw in here in the Rams in this lineup. So there's ways like this you can go with the 2 tight ends and still get up to Adams if you think he's going to see so much volume and Ramsey's not going to matter. That's just your big decision on the slate on both sites is if you're going to play Adams or not. in cash games, I think you just throw him in there. But in tournaments, maybe you want to get a little different, like I said, and throw maybe a Woods in there if Kupp's going to be out. And then maybe look at playing Aaron Jones instead. He's going to get a lot of dump offs, and he can tear him up. So there's builds like this that I like that you can go around, and that's kind of how I'm seeing DraftKings. Again, that decision on Devante Adams is going to kind of decide how you're going to build your lineups. And again, don't be afraid of the 2 tight end set on these. Just if they shut down Adams, I think Tanyan can get there, man. I really do. There's 20-point upside for him. Same with Andrews. Like I said, if Kupp is out, we could look at a Higbee or Everett. These guys are cheap, and they could get there because they're probably going to be playing from behind. So take that into consideration when you're building your lineups. But again, I really think Allen is the guy that I really want here, at home. He just looks so good, and I just have a hard time getting away from him. Like I said, Lamar Jackson, lightning in a bottle, man. That dude, we saw it last game against Tennessee. Like struggle bust, boom, 60 yards touchdown. And then it kind of ignited him. But so one of those 2 guys, the way I'm looking at. Let's just slip over here to FanDuel and look at it. And again, quarterback position, Allen 8,800, Rodgers 8,400. Jackson is down to 8K here. I still think I want Allen, but again, Lamar Jackson, those are the 2 guys I want. Rodgers is up there. For how close they're priced together, I want Allen all day long, but it's still Jackson or Allen with me. Just that rushing upside's just too good to pass up. Head on over to the running back position. Again, I think you're starting most of your lineups, and most people will start with Cam Akers at 7K. Again, that Green Bay's rush defense hasn't been good all year. He's going to be the most popular running back if you're doing cash games or even single entry, or maybe you want to get away from it in single entry. It's just hard to at that price for him not to pay off. Aaron Jones, again, 7,800 is very interesting. If you're not going to go Devante Adams, go Aaron Jones, and maybe he gets in 2 or 3 touchdowns and Devante Adams doesn't. That's just a good fade pivot off of the chalkier Adams. I think Jones is going to be extremely popular. Don't get me wrong. It's a 2-game slate, but that's a way to do it. Dobbins is cheap here, 6,500. I probably play both those guys if I was starting out. We talked about Gus the Bus, 5,300 on FanDuel, Singletary, 5,700. That's basically all the guys you're looking at. And it depends on your roster construction here. I wouldn't play any of these other guys. This is all you're looking at. It's just, do you want to pay up for Aaron Jones to get off of Dobbins? Maybe you want to play Akers and Jones here over the wide receiver. Like I said, the big decision here is going to be Devante Adams. I personally think if you're playing single entry or if you're playing large field contest, this is where you take a stand, fade him. Hope Ramsey shuts him down and Green Bay does it other ways. Again, I would just rather play 400 down to Diggs personally, but there's ways to go. Again, Woods, I love Woods. If Kupp is out, I would want a ton of Woods. We have to keep that in consideration in these builds. Marquis Brown, it's hard to get behind him. He did look good, but I would much rather go Woods in this situation against Green Bay. I'd slide him in there if Kupp is out. Kupp being a true game time decision is really, really, I struggle with that a lot. Like I said, if Adams struggles a little bit, Valdez-Scantling 5,500 is just way too cheap. It only takes one over the top for him to hit that value. Sheriff John Brown, nobody's going to own him. I take that back. I think more people will own John Brown than Valdez-Scantling, and they're the same price. I just think if you're going to fade Adams, the scoring is coming from somewhere. So you need to have one of or both of Aaron Jones, Valdez-Scantling, Tanyan. You need to have a couple of those guys because the scoring is going to come from somewhere. So maybe you throw in a Valdez-Scantling or John Brown here, like Beasley 5,900. I love all 3 of these guys. John Brown probably be one notch down below Valdez-Scantling and Beasley. He'd probably be third out of this group. Like I said, Lazard in large field tournaments, Reynolds large field tournaments. Nobody's going to be on these guys because they haven't done a whole lot. But if Kupp's out, Reynolds is going to get a lot more looks here. Van Jefferson, you really need the Kupp news to figure things out. Luckily, that game is the first game of the night. So we'll know that news and can adjust projections and everything accordingly on how we're going to attack this. But again, I think the move is to fade Adams, and hopefully he doesn't go freaking nuclear on you, because he's going to be on a 2-game slate. He's going to be 60% owned, 65% owned. And if he struggles and doesn't get there for you, you're jumping the field that much. And those are the chances you have to take to win these tournaments. Again, tight end, Mark Andrews is definitely going to be the chalk here at 6,600. When you got Tanya and only 400 difference, I think in cash games, you're just locking in Andrews. And again, this is another spot where you want to go 2 tight ends here. Maybe you think I'm going to get off Aaron Jones. I think they're going to go Valdez-Scantling and Tanyan here a ton. So I'm going 2 tight ends. I think that's a way in tournaments you can get different if you think they're going to shut down Adams and Tanyan's going to put up a monster game. And again, defense, just play anyone you want. Don't worry about who you're playing against. I kind of do like Buffalo just because I feel like, I think the Ravens are in a good spot. Ravens or Buffalo, I would look at. The one thing I love about Buffalo is if you're having Lamar Jackson throw the ball, things can go wrong in a hurry. We just saw it. Like he's not that accurate. He's a damn running back. I don't care what people say, he's hard to guard. Don't get me wrong. If you don't spy him, we saw it, he's gone, but he is so inaccurate. Like there's a couple passes that look fantastic but to be a great quarterback, you have to be consistent, and he is not that. So let's just put the Bills in here. Got 6,700 left for this lineup. Like I said, you got Dobbins right there. You could throw right into this lineup, and if you're going the 2 tight end set, that I do like. So keep that in mind when you're building. Make some on these 2-game slates. Really take some chances on guys. Really think about the fades that you're going to go. Like Knox has been seeming to get in the damn box a ton lately here. Maybe you want to look at him. For really low ownership. Like I said, Everett's not going to have hardly any ownership, or Higbee. These guys are guys you can look to double tight end, or maybe you want to get off Andrews completely, and hopefully he sucks because he's going to be owned almost 50% in these lineups. So maybe get off him and run a Tanya and Higbee or Tanya and Everett, and then upgrade Valdez-Scantling to a better wide receiver. But this is kind of how I see the builds going. Again, I think your big decision is, are you playing Devante Adams or are you not? Leave a comment in the section. Let me know. Are you fading him? Are you playing him? I think that's going to make or break your slate. Again, great 2-game slate. Should be fun. Got about 6 hours before kickoff. Again, if we get that news with Cup out, we'll update the projections. And I want to know what's going on and how you're going to attack this. I'm leaning the fade Devante Adams personally. Please let me know. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button, and I will see you on the flip side. Deuces.